Welcome to the Dynasty Happy Hour podcast. Pull up a chair and kick up your feet as you get ready to enjoy some of the industry's most entertaining and actionable Dynasty content on the planet. We're talking veterans, rookies, sleepers, and oh yeah, you know the crew has those dad jokes ready for you. So let's not wait any longer and bring on the host or some combination of Doug and Tyler.
Welcome back to the Dynasty Happy Hour. It is week 12. Thanks for joining us. I know we took last week off. Schedules and life got in the way, so apologize for that. But you know what? It's good to have a break, especially during the year, because during the year is the toughest part of the grind for the Dynasty Happy Hour, to be quite honest. But we are back in week 12 here to talk about all the news, all the injuries, and just to talk football, because that's where we're at. At week 12, hopefully, if you are in contention or not. You've only got week 12, 13, 14, then the playoffs start. So you're right up against it with what your team needs to do. And we'll talk a little bit about that today as well. Maybe some targets that you want to go and try and acquire for next year. Because you know what? Some people's seasons are over. Not mine. I'm in 14 leagues. I'm in the playoffs in all 14. Life is good right now for me. Tyler, how you feeling about your fantasy football season thus far?
Like life as usual, right in the middle. Just, you're not quite sure.
You're very mid, as the kids would say.
Yes, I've got a couple teams that are definitely rebuild, but there's a couple teams where I'm definitely winning, and then there's some teams where it's like it just teases with you. It's like, hey, is this team into me? Am I into this team? Am I sure I want to go all in?
Are you
on this
swiping
team?
left or right on the team?
Right. And I sit there and I look at it, and there's one league specifically that you're in, and you co-own with our friend Damon.
Urine? Ew.
Yes, urine. And it's been around. I started it. It was the first league I started personally. I love this league. It is my longest standing league I'm in, and I can never compete. There's one year I made the championship, and ever since then, I didn't win. I lost to our other friend Al, unfortunately, and I can't get it back. Every time I think my team's good, it's not, and then I'm like, oh, like what do you like that?
And then you want to blow it up because you're Tyler. You're like, I gotta trade everything away.
It's the worst spot I'm in. So yeah, it's fun. Dynasty's fun. It's chaotic. It's confusing, but most of all, it's like, if you got like a $30 to $50 buy-in, like, who cares? Build a team that you like, because at the end of the year, you're going to look at it and be like, I may have gotten third, but I hate this team. And that's no fun either.
That is true. I mean, if you spend $30 to $50 and you finish third, you're most likely getting your money back anyway. So that's kind of how I look at it anyway. I try to build teams that are competitive that I also like. I've been way more active in trading than in years past. I've made probably the most trades I've ever made in Dynasty this year, including taking one team, started trading last season and then trading around the draft time in the UDPL league as someone who had the, what did I end up having with this? I was just outside the playoffs. I think I had the 5th pick, 105, and trading around and acquiring Saquon Barkley and James Cook and AJ Brown and trading away Jamar Chase and getting him back and getting Caleb and just crazy moves in that league. And I've got tied for the best record, having a great season, going to make the playoffs, and we'll see what happens. It's an industry league, which I've won before many years ago when Cam Newton was my quarterback.
You beat me in that championship, by the way.
20 years ago, I won that one. I didn't even need Cam Newton. That's when I traded Juju when he was at peak Juju.
Oh yeah, that's right.
He was worth a lot. Yeah, that was a bad trade. But you know what? I still ended up winning anyway, which was great. So I mean, you have it. It's fun to have a lot of teams and have them be in different places. In years past, I've had teams where I'm like a win now. I've had rebuild, and over the years, it's finally kind of all come together for me. Like I have teams that I didn't make the playoffs last year, and I have teams now. Those same teams are first in the division. Thank you, Brock Bowers and tight end premium, and teams like that. So I'm finally at the point where all my teams are competitive, and I don't have like a poop team that I'm rebuilding.
How boring! Jeez, you gotta suck. You gotta suck.
It's nice to be in the playoffs and win, though. I mean, that's the goal.
That is fun.
There's none of my teams where I'm looking at it like I need to blow this thing up. I'm in third place or better in a lot of leagues.
There's like 3 leagues where I'm sitting there. I'm like, okay, like Christmas could be really good. And then there's of course some teams. So I think if I can win a couple, I could come out above, in the green.
Sure. Yeah.
And that's what it's about. Just winning.
There's a couple that if I win, like my brother-in-law's league, it's a redraft league. I'm currently in second, but if I win that one, it's like $700 and that covers me for the whole year on all my leagues easily. So that's always the goal is to try to win that one. Even if I split the pot, like I'm doing all right.
That's why it's like, okay, draft picks are fun. We'll kind of get back into some information. Draft picks are all fun and dandy. It's fun trying to hit on the next big thing, trying to get that next guy. Yeah, like Brian Thomas. Oh my God, you got him at 109, 110. Great. Ladd McConkey, you got him at 112, 201. That's awesome. But that doesn't happen as often. So if like you're sitting there and you're like, well, I get a contender's pick, it could be 108 to 112. You're sitting there like, oh, okay, I'll trade away.
You pick Xavier Worthy and you can't start him.
Yeah, who I really like as a buy, but that's beyond the point. It's like if you've got players competing, like say you just ran in, like always look at your points against, always look at your points for, look at power rankings on MFL. Sleepers got a really cool thing. The weekly review, I never looked at it until this year. I love that thing. It's super cool. And just
power rank is a good one in MFL too.
Yep. Look at the hidden things, because if you're like 4 and 7 and you've got like 4th for points for and 2nd for points against, you're just running into a bad schedule.
Here's what I'm going to give you a perfect situation, because in my home Dynasty league there was a trade yesterday, and this particular manager is first in his division. He's 7-4. But he has the second fewest points for in the entire league. It's a 12-team league. And he has the least amount of points against. So he traded, in essence, 2 firsts, a second, and then some players for Saquon Barkley and Tank Dell. Now, Barkley only has 1 more year left on his deal after this. Tank Dell is extendable. It's one of those leagues. So when I saw this move, it was with my brother-in-law, Josh. I said, that 2026 pick is going to be a good one. I said, because he'll make the playoffs this year. I said, but look at his roster. Like, he's not scoring a ton of points, and he's got the softest schedule. Like, he's going to be one and done. But that's a case where a manager's like, I'm in first in the division, I might get a bye, and he's trying to go all in. But when you look at the total of the roster, even with Saquon Barkley, I don't think it's going to be that much of a lift to get him in the Final Four. Let's put it that way.
Yep.
So for me, it's like you just traded away your 25 and 26 first for Barkley, who you have for 1 more season. And then you got Tank Dell, cool. But for me, it was like, you got to see the forest through the trees. Like, if I'm in his position, I'm looking at the points for and points against and taking a realistic look at my team and saying, hey, cool, I might make the playoffs, but I'm not making a big, bold move for, in essence, one player that I can rely on every week, because I just don't think it's enough.
Yep. And right now I'm going back and forth with somebody in a home league that they are one of the top teams, and I am out of the playoffs right now. My team has ran into bad luck. I'm the 4th highest scoring team, but I have the most points against by probably 200. Like, it's been a nut season. So it sucks. And I know where I'm going to be. I'm going to be out of the playoffs. So that's fine with me. And he's offering what is going to be somebody else's pick, 203, for James Conner. It's a 12-team league, non-superflex. So the pick is going to be meh. And I'm sitting here trying to get 203, and he's like, I don't know if I want to give 203. It's like, hey, if you want to win the title and you need a running back, like, these are players to go for. Yeah, it's going to suck if he's not on the Cardinals next year, or if he doesn't, like, yeah. So there's chances like that. But I texted him and I said, hey, you're the best team in the league. You win the division, you get $50. You win the league, you get $300 for first. Like, is 203 worth that much money to you? Like, that's what you got to think. Instead of being like, oh, 203, I could get Tyrone Tracy of next year. I could in a week. It's like, you can't think of that. If you feel like you can win, no pick is too much. That's what I am saying. Like, we in UDPL, the trade deadline was non-existent when we first started, but this trade actually made it exist, because I had a team approach me, be like, hey, I want Christian McCaffrey from you. I will give you, it was 2 firsts, it was 103, and AJ Brown for Christian McCaffrey. Now, AJ Brown wasn't him at the moment. He was rookie Tennessee Titan. So I accepted, and the guy went on to win the league with Christian McCaffrey, who's going insane. So, like, no price is too much to win the league, because when you win the league, you get that money, which is what we're playing for. We're not just like I've had to talk. I've looked at myself in the mirror and tell myself, like, hey, I'm not playing to tinker, even though it is fun. I'm trying to win. I'm trying to make a good team and trying to have longevity as well as a winning team. So it's tough when you stare at it in your inbox for the trade. But like I said, like, pull the trigger, go for the win. And this is right now the time to do it.
Yeah, I mean, that's the exact move that I just made with you in the Bar Tab League, where my team is undefeated. I have the most points scored by like well over 200 on the next guy. And could I just rest on my laurels and be like, this team is great and I'm trying to win it that way? Sure. Or I can make a move to shore up my wide receiver room, because I have Jamar Chase and CeeDee Lamb. Beautiful problem to have, by the way. But if one of those guys gets hurt and misses time, my second wide receiver would be like Khalil Shakir. So I recognize that, like, all right, if I have an injury to one of these guys, or say like CeeDee Lamb pulls a hamstring in week 13 and they're like, you know what, our season's over, we're not going to rush him back. It would be tough for me to replace that production on my roster. So Tyler and I made a trade. I said, all right, I got Brandon Ayuk on IR. I'm looking to move and get a receiver that I can not only start every week, but give me a little bit of roster insurance so I can try to win this league again this year. And we made a deal. I sent Brandon Ayuk. I sent Isaiah Likely, it's tight end premium, $100 for free for the rookie auction next year, as well as Jalen Wright, because Tyler wanted Jalen Wright. I'm really deep at running back, like 5-6 deep. I actually start usually like 4 to 5 running backs a week in that league. So I was like, you know what? I can give up Jalen Wright to get Drake London and have him be my wide receiver 3, and then be my wide receiver 2 if Jamar Chase or CeeDee Lamb suffers an injury, because they're both on teams that are losing, and there's a wild card there that it's like, if Chase or Lamb get hurt, like I said, they're not going to rush him back and just call it. So I was scared of that happening, because I do want to win this league again this year. And that was a move, whereas my roster doesn't have really any holes. My quarterback room is good. My running back room is good. I've got Bowers and Hawkinson at tight end in a premium. My roster is good. I don't necessarily need to invest in this rookie class where my team is good now. So I was like, you know what? I want to make a move. And Tyler and I made that deal. And I feel much better about my team now in the event that something happens. Now, if I had waited too long and Lamb or Chase misses time, the price on any player I trade for just went up, because they're going to be like, you need this player more than I do, and now you're going to pay for him because you're undefeated or you're in first place. Why do I want to help you? You're going to have to pay more now to get the player that you want. So that's part of my motivation to make the move, was to get in front of it. And I think that's one of the things, if you really look at your rosters, making those types of moves and being proactive, it's always better to be proactive than reactive when it comes to dynasty trades. So if you can take a look at your roster and say, all right, in the event of an injury, where would I be hurting right now? And if you say, oh, it's my running back room, go trade for a running back ahead of time, because you just never know. Or you have a running back on a team that's not doing well, like, they're not going to be motivated to bring that running back in week 14 or 15. The season's over. Like, so, you don't want to take a starter out of your lineup, an ideal starter, and then have to sub him in for a guy that, like, you don't want to start. So trying to avoid those types of situations this time of the year when you're winning. Don't get complacent. Don't get lazy and just assume because you're 10-0 and you've scored the most points that you're good.
Yep.
Always try to be better.
I completely agree. I'm in a league with like the fantasy football writers, and I'm the highest scoring team, and I'm 6-5, 7-4. I think 7-4. There's one team that is very close to me, but everybody else is like super close, and there's like 2 complete mess of a rebuild. There's always at least a couple. Yeah, it's a 10-team league, so rosters are very, very good and deep. Mm-hmm. And so I'm sitting there looking, and I'm like, okay, I need running back. And Dave Montgomery was on the block, and I'm thinking to myself, I don't have a 2025 first, but I have a 2026 first in what looks to be a good class in about a year and a half. So I was thinking to myself, do I want Dave Montgomery for a first? And in my head, I'm like, yeah, like, of course. Like, yeah, it may suck because he's older. He's going to be 28 next year. But the thing
They
is,
just gave him more money and extended him.
They gave him more money. They extended him. And it's going back to the James Conner thing. Like, James Conner is worth an early second. Montgomery, I think, is easily worth a late first, if you're a contender. Like, that is, to me, is another one of those go out and trade for type of things, and you might get another 2 years out of him. So it's not like you're just doing it for now or you're doing it for next year. So if you're not feeling the whole Connor thing, go test the market for Montgomery, see if he's on a winning team. But that's also what matters. You need to find the right partner. You need to figure out, like, okay, if this person isn't competing, go look at rosters that are out of the playoffs and go scan the rosters for older players. And it might work. Like, Mike Evans is coming off the IR soon. He could be a league winner, and he could cost you a mid-second.
Their schedule is very easy down the stretch for Tampa.
I completely agree. I
agree with that.
Now, do you want to go through the games, or do you want to just go through the teams and do contenders buy and dynasty buy? Like,
I think we can do that as we kind of go through some of the games and stuff. But first, I did want to note there is a couple of injuries from last week. Luckily, it wasn't a big injury week because this week is bye-pocalypse. There's 6 teams on bye and a lot of fantasy relevant players. Bengals, Bills. So on and so forth. So I know some of my rosters, I was like, oh, I got to start Rashad Bateman this week and Elijah Moore and Devin Singletary because I don't have running back depth, because also James Cook is on bye. I'm like, ugh, I'm going to lose this week in some leagues, which is fine. I'm in a good position where I can afford a loss. It's not going to kill me, which is always good. But luckily, the injuries in week 11 weren't too bad. Darnell Mooney had a hamstring injury. He didn't return against the Broncos, but I think that's because the Falcons were getting their doors blown off by Bo Nix.
A shit game. God, that the worst is when you have a friend that's a Broncos fan and he's just like, he's not rubbing it in, but he's just saying things like, oh, wow, Bo Nix looks good. Like, you know what he's doing, but he's just doing it the Minnesotan way.
Yeah, he's doing it nicely.
Passive aggressive.
Yeah. The Raiders had injuries to both Alexander Madison, his ankle, and then Zamir White with a quad. I saw Amir Abdullah get scooped up in some leagues this week. If neither one of those guys play, he'll be a hot ad on the deep dynasty waivers. And Dylan Laube from UNH might get some run. I know he had one carry and had a fumble and never saw the field again. So maybe he comes back. Outside of that, there wasn't really much from a fantasy relevancy. Tajay Spears was evaluated for a concussion. Cool. At least it wasn't his non-existent ACLs, because you can't hurt those if you don't have them, right, Tyler?
Exactly. You can't tear them.
Bingo. So yeah, a light injury week, thankfully, because this week is a struggle for some of those people, especially if you're heavy on Bengals and Bills and stuff.
Actually, there was a couple of injuries I do want to mention. Falcons fans, and
all of them.
2 the Bears fans and franchise. Like, they have been hurt badly. Like, we should send a signal.
It'd be interesting how different the narrative would be if they won that Hail Mary game and they won they didn't have the field goal blocked and won that game. The Caleb narrative would be interesting.
That's true, but I do think Waldron would still have a job then, which would suck. So I think
Waldron, much better game called last week, by the way, for the Bears.
Exactly, and like, that's not saying much because the play caller was also the play caller for the Panthers last year, I think it was, or the year before. I can't remember, but he was a play caller for them, and they were not good when he was a play caller. So it kind of shows like how bad Waldron was and how bad this offense is. And to make matters worse, Ben Johnson said he wanted the Bears job last year, but Eberflus got a second chance. Like, Ben Johnson probably...
I don't think they make that mistake again.
No. And I don't think Ben Johnson accepts it. I don't think...
if they pay him the bag...
I don't think he will.
What if the Lions win the Super Bowl?
I mean, he's leaving for a head coach job. I don't think that's... That being said, I think it's Jacksonville if they don't hire Belichick. Please, Jacksonville, don't do that.
Jacksonville?
Yeah. I could see Ben Johnson going to Jacksonville because he's going to have a lot of power, and he's going to...
Shad Khan will pay him.
Yep, pay him, and the new stadium, and you get Trevor Lawrence, who's an actual good quarterback, and you get Brian Thomas. you've got weapons there. So yeah, Tank Bigsby. I'm not going to mention Etienne because he's
Gabe Davis out for the year, by the way.
Yeah, Gabe Davis out for the year. Oh no.
Yay. Oh no.
My Moncrief. My second Moncrief. So yeah, it's going to be a fun coaching cycle because there is a lot of juicy.
I want to say there's probably 8 teams that replace coaches this offseason.
And I think they're all going to be like good opportunities. There's going to be some good opportunities out there.
Sure. We'll see what the Giants do at coach. I mean, they just benched Daniel Jones. They pretty much took the insurance policy and said, hey, we're not going to play Daniel Jones because if he gets hurt, then he's guaranteed a bag of money. So let's make him the third string quarterback behind Tommy Cutlets.
They're bringing in, I would say they're bringing in Drew Lock, right? Oh no, because there's incentives to Drew Lock's contract too, so they don't want to pay him.
Can you be cheaper?
Right? And also, rumor has it they are keeping Dable and Shane. Joe Shane?
Joe Shane.
Yeah, the rumor has it that Mara is keeping.
I mean, their draft was good. I mean, they got Neighbors, they got Nubbin, they got Theo Johnson, like. They did they Tyrone Tracy. They had a nice draft.
Yeah. And I think Dable is a good head coach.
I think he is too. I just think Daniel Jones is not salvageable.
And I've listened to podcasts where they've actually said, hey, Atlanta, if you would have hung on to Arthur Smith and gave him Cousins, you may have been all right because Arthur Smith doesn't look that bad. He doesn't look bad. He's using Pickens. He's playing
8-2.
But the thing is, I don't think Arthur Smith is a head coach guy. I think he is a good offensive coordinator. And he's in the right spot in the team that wants to run and they do play action pass. So I think he's in the right spot.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. The shuffle, not only the shuffle at head coach, but the quarterback shuffle. Because now we're hearing that the Jets don't want Aaron Rodgers back next year, which is not a surprise. They just fired their GM. When is Aaron Rodgers just going to fire himself? Just retire. Like everyone else is gone. Everyone else is gone. And it's just Aaron Rodgers sitting in a room like, this is fine. A room of darkness. It's me, Aaron Rodgers. I've cost everyone their job because I was, what's the word I want to look for? Like a bad bill of goods or whatever. I can't think of the phrase. But
that defense has sucked since Saleh left. Like they were an elite defense and they had just been trash since Saleh left. And Rodgers, he's not playing well. He brings in all of his friends and the team has 3 wins. He's blaming everybody else.
He's literally cost them everything.
Everything. They have no future. Like this team is a trash heap. It's bad. If you're a Jets fan, I think
they thought so. They traded for Devontae Adams. I'm sure Rodgers wanted that. They brought Hassan Reddick in finally from his holdout. I'm sure Rodgers wanted that. He wanted the coach gone. And now you've got the GM gone. And it's all stemming from Rodgers. Like, I've never seen a more toxic example of a player. And even Brady. Like, Brady wanted guys, but he never did anything like this.
Yeah.
Like, this is insane what Rodgers has done with his partnership. I guess Woody Johnson, like, recommended, like, he wanted them to bench Rodgers.
So now Woody Johnson, actually news just came in. Woody Johnson has lost his job as owner of the Jets because Rodgers got him. Wow, crazy. Rodgers got him fired.
Away. Yeah, he got him to sell him the Jets for $10.
And it says Rodgers actually fired him and Woody Johnson accepted firing.
I'm going to give you a really savvy Superflex Dynasty move. Go pick up Tyrod Taylor. I think Tyrod could be a fantasy relevant quarterback down the stretch. I know this may because Aaron Rodgers, if he tweaks an ankle, he ain't coming back. He's a baby. He's not going to come back and I'm going to try to help the team. I'm going to try to help the team win. No, it's over. You're 3-8 and you suck. If he gets hurt, he's not coming back. Tyrod Taylor with those offensive weapons, I'd rather see that than Aaron Rodgers right now.
Tyrod Taylor in that pocket would look like Mike Vick early career. Because Rodgers
Tyrod Taylor, go pick him up if you're in Superflex leagues and he's somehow still available, and he very well could be. I know I've picked him up a couple times this week in some leagues, just kind of trying to read the tea leaves here, and it could be a move that works out. And if it doesn't, it's a bottom of the barrel roster spot. You can cut him at the end of the year, but it's just one of those things that I was thinking like, there's no incentive for Rodgers to keep playing, and if they do bench him, Tyrod could give this offense some juice. So I'm okay with it. All right. Let's move on Tyler, we've got some, we'll call them observations. Just, we're just going to talk in general about this week. What are some of the things that you took away from week 11?
Let me see here. Let's go with, I'll just hit up the Thursday night game so we can get that over with.
Sure.
Saquon Barkley is a league winner. People doubted him. He's crazy good. His speed.
Value all-time high?
I think it should be. He looks juiced. Like he look like not like steroid
Can't say that
juiced,
word.
but
Can't say that word.
he looks like his speed is back. My only issue is he's taken away from the offense. Like that.
The
that's
passing
the problem.
game for sure.
Yeah, and Jalen Hurts, he's fine, but Barkley has definitely
because he has so many rushing touchdowns. He's fine.
Barkley has definitely hidden some efficiencies with this offense, and so if anybody, I think Barkley should be an MVP candidate because if he wasn't there, I think this team might be struggling. It might
I think
be
the only
500.
running back MVP candidates right now would be Derrick Henry and Saquon Barkley.
Yeah, I mean Derrick Henry is a different story. That dude's different, and I think Barkley could be one of those guys. He's 27. I think Barkley has another 3 years. Because, I mean, think about it. He was hurt with the ACL. He's had a couple injuries, so he hasn't.
He doesn't have the mileage that Derrick Henry had.
Exactly.
Or has. Henry's got probably like 5,000 touches in his football career.
And I think we could put Barkley up in that different type of guy. Like, he's just built different. He's a different type of athlete than a lot of players. So
to me, it's amazing. I think part of it is that Saquon's playing on a winning team, and they are supporting him in a way that I don't think the Giants necessarily did. And I think that's what you're seeing in his play is that he's finally happy. He's winning and he knows he's a difference maker and he's just letting everyone see it.
Yeah.
Whereas
I can see
before
that.
It was like, Saquon, I mean, how many stuffed boxes did Saquon run against for the Giants? A lot. So this offense has been able to spread it out because you have the threat of Goddard, Smith and Brown. You can't stack the box against Barkley or else Hurts is going to kill you. So it's a perfect fit. And when he signed there, everyone was like, Hurts is going to take all the rushing touchdown. No, Hurts is still getting his.
They both
get getting his. In SFB, I went back to back. I went Hurts at 104 and I took Barkley in the second round. Perfect scenario.
Yep. And like we said, like Smith and AJ Brown are definitely hurting for it.
Yeah, it's going to be like one's going to pop off one week and one the other. I'm a little worried about Devonta Smith because 3 weeks ago he had a nice game, but he's been quiet for the last 2.
Yeah.
So he's almost more of a you're going to play him because let's be honest, the Eagles' passing schedule from here on out is cake. So you're going to have him in your lineup every week, and he's going to hit one of those 20-point weeks here soon. But you just got to be satisfied with if he only gets you 7 or 8 points, it's going to happen.
Yeah,
so he's almost like a boomer bust right now, but not a complete bust. So just be careful.
Yeah, this Sunday night against the Rams, that could be a shootout, and they will need to throw more.
Yeah, and speaking of the Rams, Puka's value only keeps going up. So if you purchased low on Puka when he was hurt, when he was supposed to miss 10 weeks or whatever, then came back,
I tried.
He's been Puka, man. He's just been great. He is the future there. I mean, I know Cooper Kupp is there now, but we all know that he is older. But Puka, I mean, he's so fun to watch play football because he's so physical, and that does get him into trouble sometimes.
Yes,
he had the touchdown catch against the Patriots, and he came up slow. But then he played the rest of the game, had a nice 40-yard completion later on in the game. He's one of those guys that just gets open. He separates without being the fastest guy. It's a Keenan Allen type. His technique is just so good, and his body control is so good. Puka, he's legit, 100% legit.
Yeah, I completely agree, and that's the worry is the injuries because I mean,
right,
like you said, he's got a little Mike Williams in him where he just makes these insane catches and then comes up hurt all the time. He's got a little T. Higgins in him with some soft tissue issues, and then he's got but he's like a blend of early year Keenan Allen, like you said, and like Debo, if they had a baby, so. He is a superstar. It's just if he can stay healthy.
Debo Samlin. That's the Debo and Keenan Allen baby. Debo. Yeah. I like it.
It sounds like a diet.
Trademark it. The keto diet.
Kibo.
Or a kid's toy. Oh, did you get your kid a Kibo for Christmas? I couldn't find them. They're so hot.
They're sold out this
You
Christmas.
know what I do miss? I miss when we had the hot Christmas toy.
I
Like,
tried
there was
looking them up this year. There's nothing.
No, we live in a different era. Like, we live in an online era, and we live in an era where people aren't shopping in stores as much. So there's not this like limited edition thing that everyone's going after. And God damn it, I miss that. I miss the
agree.
Tickle Me Elmo. I miss all those kind of
The
things.
Furby.
Yeah, the gaming systems, like trying
Yeah,
to
when
land
gaming
like
systems would actually come out like November, and they're like, yeah, let's see
now
if
they
we can
come out
get
like
'em.
every 5 or 6 years. It's like, they
Yeah.
don't come out very often. So I miss that time of the year, to be quite honest. So
Yeah, same with like Pokemon games for me. It was like every year they came out in November.
Pokemon cards are hot right now, though.
Yeah, but like
As we know.
Pokemon games, it was like they had like the store had 20 for the whole day Christmas time. That's what it felt like. 'Cause you could never find them.
I watch some of these retro game channels on YouTube, and I well up a little bit because I worked at Best Buy from 1999 up until 2015. And I remember when we used to sell the base Pokemon cards. We used to have them on a base deck in a box, and we'd sell the packs like Series 1 OG. And they would sit there. No one really bought them. And even that, the Game Boy games, those prices are insane for like sealed Pokemon games. Like, I watch these things and like, oh, $1,500. And then like a booster box of like the OG Pokemon's tens of thousands of dollars. And if I had a time machine, I would go back, use my employee discount, and buy all the Pokemon stuff and just leave it sealed.
Yeah, and the best thing about it is there's a news anchor they were showing, and they're like, Pokemon, yeah, it's this year's thing, but give it a year, it'll just pass. Yeah, 28 years later, 29 years later,
25. I think it's like 25, 26.
Yeah, and here we are.
Crazy.
It's very popular, and hey,
it's hotter than ever right now.
And yeah, I still play the games. My kids collect the cards, and I live vicariously through them while they open their packs.
I never played the games, but I enjoy the artwork, and the card creations are very, very fun. All right, let's get back to some football. I want to talk a little bit about the Pats. I know same game as the Rams. Drake May with another solid game. You know, the interception was at the end of the game. He didn't really see Pop Douglas all that well and got picked off. But up until that moment, and he had a blindside, or he had a fumble, which he probably should have held on to. But that line, we all know it stinks, right?
Yeah.
And the reports are today that they're going to use their salary cap. They have $135 million towards the line and the receivers. I'll believe it when I see it. I really want them to make a splashy signing like a T. Higgins, because that's exactly what this offense
I think T's
needs.
going there. I have a weird feeling T is going there. So
he would be peppered with targets if he can stay on the field. But Drake May looks better and better every single week. He didn't even take off and run that much this week. The protection was fairly good, but his pocket presence and arm talent, he had one where he looked like old school Steve Bedrosian sidearm, like dropped down, like everyone's like, oh, Mahomes. I'm like, yeah, he dropped down, wicked sidearm to get it in there, and it was perfect. I was like, ooh, this kid's talent, he's going to be so good.
Everybody you see on online, like Blue Sky, yeah, I said it, Blue Sky or X, they're all saying, like all scouts, everybody I follow from the NFL, they all say Drake May is elite already. He's making massive plays without an offense. Like, this offensive line sucks.
I mean,
he's got Hunter Henry.
Butte is their number one receiver right now.
Which, I mean, 3 years ago, Butte was the hottest receiver.
Big at LSU. That is true.
So, I love the fact that Drake May's hitting. I have him in 4 leagues. I had him in no leagues to start. We talked about that.
Yeah.
We talked about the Drake May experience and how I didn't get him in any leagues and how disappointed I was. And I said in August, I'm like, I'm going to go out and I'm going to try everywhere to get him. Well, I got a couple shares, and I'm very happy because this guy looks to be a Herbert. He looks like he could potentially, when he gets weapons and stuff, hit a Josh Allen ceiling. Yeah, I said it, because he's got the arm. He's got the running ability. This offense ain't bad. Like, he is and it's because of him.
Oh, so 100%. He is their best player on offense, and it's not even. I mean, Ramondre's good, but I mean, the offensive line is bad, and the receiving room. Like, are you buying low on Jalen Polk? I know we have a potential deal with him, but everything I hear around here is like they're kind of like just not super duper happy with him.
So this is the thing. These are the type of players that you can take chances on because he's worth a third, maybe.
I mean, you
And
probably spent a late second, early third to get him.
Yeah.
So I think a third, based on everything that's happened, is probably fair.
Yeah. So these are the type of things because like we had players like Ayuk and Devontae Adams turn it around. It doesn't happen often,
True.
but it's all about the mental part. Like if this guy, like Jermaine Burton's another thing. Like, hey, if these guys can get their shit together, they're very talented players. They could be in a good situation. They just need to get out of their own head.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the thing. Like, is a third worth the shot? Could I get another Jalen Polk next year? Maybe. But yeah, I think I'll go out and take the shot on a Jalen Polk, who was an early second round pick. He's in the Patriots offense. They will bring in or draft a receiver. I think they draft the offensive lineman, but they will bring in another receiver. That's a foregone conclusion. They will bring somebody else in.
Or if not, multiple.
Yeah, like they could bring in Higgins and Debo, which rumor has it they're interested in. But
I'd love Debo in New England just for a year or two.
Yeah. And so for me, like Polk could be a little buried, but he needs it. He needs kind of that get your head out of your ass type thing.
He was I went to training camp and I actually got a picture with Jalen Polk and listened to him interact with people, and he came across as cocky. And I think he came into the league with like, I'm the shit, like, and then he got humbled, and then he's like, he was like, I got the best hands in the league, and then clanged passes off his hands. So I think it's like he needed a reality check. And, that's the kind of player that, like, you're either going to respond one of two ways. You're going to humble yourself and be like, I got to work and get better. Or he's just going to be like, I'm great, and not do any work. He doesn't seem like that type from what I've been hearing. So yeah, buying low on him as a wild card for
it's
a
risky.
third, I think is a solid move. Or if you can get like a fourth and like a player that, isn't really helping you out, that kind of thing, I'd be probably better off.
The issue is this running back class is the perfect class to take those third and even second round flyers on these like third and fourth round NFL draft pick running backs, because this class is going to be so deep. I think it's going to push running backs back. So people are going to be like, oh, he was a third, fourth round pick. But last year they might have been a second round pick. So we could be in that because this running back class is very good.
Yes. Yeah, it's going to be the best running back class on paper that we've seen in a bit, which is good because not that necessarily that we need it. I think it's going to be one of those where, here's my prediction. I'm looking into the crystal ball. Running backs are going to get drafted to teams that everyone hates because they already have someone there.
Like older guys, like the Saints.
Yes. They're going to be like, oh, this guy got drafted here, but there's this guy in front of him. And that's going to happen. And that's when you're going to see the running backs draft stock start to slip into the second and thirds, because people are going to be like, well, he's not going to start this year, because people all get caught up in like, I have to draft a rookie and start him this year. No, you don't. That's what a taxi squad's for, jackass. So I can see that happening. How about the Lions this week, huh? That was fun.
Yeah, I mean, it was pretty much a start your Lions type week. I mean, Goff threw 5 picks a week before, and I told you, I'm starting Jameson Williams everywhere I have him because he's going to go
bounce
off.
Back. Yeah,
because and it's like, yeah, everybody's going to go off. Goff is going to be pissed that he threw 5 picks, and he's going to want to get his stats right. He's going to want to hit some incentives probably.
Amon-Ra looked great too.
Yep, he had a little slump. He's back. And like I said, Jameson got his. I think if Laporta was playing, he would have gotten his. The two running backs they went off, and I think Laporta could have played if it was a legit game, but it was a Jag. So like, hey, take a seat. We need to.
Everybody ate for the Lions. That's for
this
sure.
team is the best team in the NFL. Yeah,
I
I'm sure you heard it in every podcast. They are the best team in the NFL.
Did
Glenn,
you see Aiden Hutchinson already rehabbing?
I mean, he's built different.
If they make the Super Bowl and Hutchinson comes back, that's going to be awesome. I mean, I'm already rooting for the Detroit Lions, but if Hutchinson comes back for the Super Bowl, like, that would be an awesome, awesome story.
That's the thing about the Lions is they have become kind of the Chiefs, the early age Chiefs, the team that you're really cheering for, that everybody loves because the Patriots, they're sick of them. Like, everybody's rooting for the Lions.
Now everyone's rooting against the Chiefs because they're like, finally those fuckers lost.
Yeah, and that's it. It's like we're sick of seeing the same team win. That's how we are as a race. We're just like, oh, we need something new. We need something nice, fresh. We all love Dan Campbell. You know who was Dan Campbell before? Andy Reid. Andy Reid was Dan Campbell. I mean, they're both in commercials now everywhere. But that Super Bowl,
That and Jason Kelce.
I mean, this team is just meant. And I think if they don't make the Super Bowl, it will be a disappointment. That's where we're at.
Yeah. Especially with the NFC being a little open this year. I think it's, obviously the Niners have struggled. They're 5-5. They're fighting for the division. It's interesting.
I don't want the Falcons to make the playoffs because Penix looks better than Cousins. I'm sorry, not sorry. Cousins, he's fine. He's accurate. When Penix comes in and the ball zips to the receivers,
he's got an absolute howitzer.
In a different way, I was watching when he came in. I'm like, ooh, nice, some Penix. And his first throw was just zipped right in there. And I'm like, I don't even think he was trying to throw hard.
He's got the effortless Mike Vick to him.
Yeah.
Mike Vick, the arm motion is real casual, and then the ball just explodes out of his hand.
Yeah, and that's what everybody said.
You don't see that very often.
That's what everybody said in the draft process was like, hey, this guy's arm talent is probably number 2 in the class. And, we could talk about this rookie class because Bo Nix on the other side of the Atlanta Falcons is going off. I was wrong. I'm completely wrong. I still don't like him on my rosters just because that that Auburn tape just messes with my head. It will always be the reason.
That's in the past. You got to look at what's happening now. Bo Nix is the quarterback 4 over the last 6 weeks in fantasy, and he's the quarterback 8 on the season.
Yeah, he's it. He's Sean Payton's guy.
And they're only going to get better because they have cap room. They're going to add a receiver either in the draft or free and a tight end. They've got a literal 0 at tight end between Adam Troutman and Kroll or whoever else they have.
So apparently they like Kroll, but I can see them taking the guy from Penn State who's just a big dude. I forgot his name.
Loveland from Michigan.
I think Loveland is, if he's not locked into the Chargers, I don't know what is he's the number 1 tight end in my mind. He's a Harbaugh type guy. He
literally
Ray Garvin was talking about him like, hey, everybody in Michigan is locked in on him. He's getting triple covered and he's still getting open, still catching the ball. He's the difference maker. And if he doesn't that could make Herbert just insane, who's already undervalued still. And nobody's seeing how Herbert's throwing the ball. The quarterback class has a renaissance right now. And I think we're all excited.
And I think after the year before, we were excited for the year before, and all those quarterbacks have kind of fell on their face.
Yeah.
And now you're looking at, 4 guys starting in the league. And then you got Penix, who is probably a year away.
Yeah, he looks really good. They had no starters out on offense, and he was playing, and he was completing passes, zipping them in there. He missed on a deep shot because the receiver was, of course, a backup receiver. So,
and their backup receiver room is not great.
Yeah, it's Drake London, Mooney, and who?
Ray McLeod.
Ray McLeod, who
wears number 34 as a receiver, which freaks me the fuck out every time I see it.
Still messes me up. And I think maybe he came in, they're like, hey, we're gonna put your running back a little bit. And he's like, all right, give me 34. Who knows? Whatever.
I like Bo Jackson. Let's do this.
Yeah. But this quarterback class is something.
And if you hit on this class, the good news is next year's class isn't looking the greatest. So, but I mean, still a lot to be determined, right? This always happens. There's guys that weren't on our radar every year that all of a sudden their stock goes way up because of the combine or whatever.
Yeah, I think that's Cam Ward this year, who's another older prospect that is destroying.
He's already in conversation for a top 4 Superflex pick.
Yeah, he's destroying college right now. He is playing insane. And then you got Shadur Sanders, who's everybody's worried about the mentality and stuff, but is a very, very accurate quarterback that has a really good deep ball. And I think he's a good player. No, I
doesn't scramble as much. Better pocket passer, maybe?
No, I think Daniels has a better arm overall. I liked him more. But I think Sanders could be in the Jordan Love-ish. I think Love has more powerful of an arm, but I think Sanders could be that type of player who doesn't.
Sure.
And I think it's more. He reminds me more pocket presence. Hey, he's good in the pocket. He doesn't look to just take off and run. He looks to throw it on field first, and then might run a little bit. But
a Russell Wilson.
Yeah, and then of course you got Travis Hunter, who could be the 103, but if he plays cornerback, could be the 109. Like he's all over the board.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. All right, let's get back to the games.
All right.
Let's get back to the games. I want to talk because every week is just a time for me to get on my soapbox about Brock Bowers. Set the rookie tight end receiving record with 13 receptions this week. They had the bye week. They fired the OC, Luke Getsy. They come out of the bye week and they hyper target Brock Bowers, which is exactly what we want. And again, I'm gonna sit here and pump my chest while I still can and say at this time next year, when I talked about before the season, we're gonna kick ourselves and be like, why didn't we draft Brock Bowers in the top 4 in our tight end premium leagues? Everybody overthought it. They said the Raiders were a bad landing spot. They didn't bet on the talent. And then all of a sudden, he goes 108, 109. The savvy people drafted him before that. You just got yourself the tight end 1 in Dynasty.
Who will be untouchable for 8 years?
For a mid to late first round pick after guys like Rome Odunze. And yeah, I mean, and I still like Rome. This isn't shitting on Rome. But you have
shit on Rome?
you have a roster changing player at a very specific position where there's not a lot of eliteness right now. Bowers is by far and away the tight end 1, and it's not even close. Hopefully Laporta can get back up to somewhere in that stratosphere.
I think
but as of right now, man, if like I said, that was in both of my rookie auctions. I had teams that were win now, and I targeted one player, and I spent a lot of money, and I went all in on Brock Bowers, and both of those teams are having an extremely, extremely good season because I knew that, like, this is the player that can make the biggest difference in my roster in tight end premium leagues, and I went after him.
Yeah.
It worked out.
No, the writing was on the wall. I ended up with 1 share in a best ball league, and I still am kicking myself for like James.
A lot of people are kicking themselves.
James sniped me in a league, in the comic book league where I took Rome instead. He was my target. I was like, yes. I had Hawkinson injured. I'm like, give me Brock Bowers. But then somebody had to trade up to 105 and take Malik Neighbors to ruin it.
That was me.
That was definitely Doug. So I blame Doug and James for that. Now we have to watch James have Brock Bowers for 8 to 9, 10 years. But yeah, it's just nice having that difference maker at tight end. You get to set it and forget it every year. He's going to be Kelsey in prime, where everybody's like, "I'll give you 3 firsts," and you're just like, "I don't think that's enough."
And here's the thing: the quarterback play can only go up.
Yeah, I mean they should take a quarterback. I actually like Shedeur Sanders in Vegas because I mean Dion can do his thing, and he just kind of fits the Raider mentality, which isn't a thing anymore because the Raiders don't have a mentality.
Yeah, it died with Al Davis. Let's put it that way.
But
what else you got from this week, Tyler?
I've got JSN. He's here, right? He's arrived.
Yeah,
Tyler Lockett.
That's two really good games in a row, getting hyper targeted and being productive.
So the first game, DK Metcalf was out. I get it. He was very hyper targeted. He was targeted downfield. This game, I actually watched a lot of, and I saw Geno whenever he needed to play. He was looking for 11. He was looking for JSN because he knew, hey, if I get this guy the ball, he should catch it. And JSN's hands have become so much better. Because he broke his hand last year. Hey, his hands are better because he doesn't have a broken arm.
And he didn't miss much time.
Yeah. So JSN for me, I think he's creeping into the top 12. If he can keep this up end of the year, we're going to look at like an Amon-Ra St. Brown late season bloom to where everybody's like, is this real? Is it not real? And I think next year is going to be the time when everybody's going to pick a side. Like, is JSN real? Do I sell? And I think we're in the Amon-Ra experience right now with him where we're like, okay, is it just because they've got to throw more? Is it because Lockett's hurt? Who knows? But thanks to Ken Walker not playing as well, JSN is destroying the field. And I think he is here. He's legit, and we're seeing what we expected from him. And on the other side, the 49ers, Debo is what we expected a 29-year-old receiver to do, and that's kind of fall off of grace. Like he looks slow, he looks bigger, and he just looks like
he's still physical.
The injuries are
it's
catching up. Well, I mean,
yeah.
when you're 230 at 6 foot,
He's not
you could
making
be
those.
physical.
When Debo was at his best, he was making 50, 60-yard chunk plays.
Yeah, and he
And
doesn't
I just
have
don't see that.
no.
I
And
mean, I did say the same thing about Jamar Chase a couple months ago.
I mean,
So
that's different. I mean, Chase
I know.
is
Yeah.
24, Debo's
Correct. Yeah, but
almost
no,
30.
Debo. It seems like that that big playmaking, which is really what you wanted in fantasy with Debo, is just not there. I think that the Niners move on from Debo in the offseason and they go with Ayuk, Jennings, and Pearsall, and that's the future of the Niners offense, along with obviously Kittle and McCaffrey. Like they're still going to be in really great shape, and it's still the reason to buy Brock Purdy if you can. So, because he's going to get paid. But I
Yeah,
think
no,
Debo is going to be the sacrificial lamb when they pay Purdy.
100%. And then, like you said, if he maybe Debo kind of gets in the different mindset where it's a different team, goes to New England, gets in a little better shape, a little healthier, gets used different. Maybe he's not used as a running back as much, more of a slot receiver, and gets to play a little more relaxed instead of being the guy. So yeah, I do agree with that, and I agree with Purdy. Purdy should be the highest paid quarterback because the 49ers aren't playing great, and he is playing to a different level.
Yeah, I mean, Purdy's not costing them games. That's for sure. Jake Moody, he's costing them games.
Yeah, I mean, speaking of kickers costing, yeah,
rough year for that. Bengals, I'm looking at you. All right, I got one more thing that I want to talk about, and it was the Chargers Bengals game, and just how much of a difference having a healthy T. Higgins is. I know they lost this game, but if anything that you should extrapolate from this is that T. Higgins is a great talent, and he's going to land somewhere, hopefully like New England. But I think the biggest thing that you can probably go out and try to acquire T. Higgins is that has a hard time staying on the field. And if T. Higgins is healthy for a full season, you're looking at a guy that's probably going to go 90, 1,310 for T. Higgins in a healthy season. So that's a guy that I'm trying to acquire if my team is out of it this year, knowing that Higgins is going to go somewhere else next year. And especially if he goes to a team like New England with Drake May, that situation is going to be great. Or if he goes to like the Chargers with a Justin Herbert, like I could totally see that. If he goes anywhere, it's probably going to be with an elite quarterback because he's going to be able to choose where he wants to go. And I don't think he's just going to go to the team that has the highest money, but not a good quarterback situation. So watching that game, T. Higgins and Chase can coexist like they always have. Chase didn't have a huge yardage game, but he did have 2 touchdowns, and they both looked great. So T. Higgins is a guy that I think if you approach the T. Higgins manager, they might be like, all right, he's just always hurt. I'm just done. Because if they've had him since he's been a rookie, he's missed a lot of time. And that is frustrating when you have to put him in and out of lineups and you're relying on him to be a good wide receiver too. And then, nope, he hurt his quad midweek and then he misses 2 weeks. Someone might want to get off that train, and I'm looking for that manager.
The T. Higgins experience is definitely not fun.
It's a roller coaster.
It is, but when he plays, he is so good. He is insanely good. He makes catches where like nobody should make that catch. He's long, he's got sure hands, he's fast, and it's just like if it can be a whole season, this guy will be a top 10 receiver easily. So
yeah, I said 90, 1,310 at least.
Oh, easily, yeah.
Yeah. And that's a wide receiver one for you all day long. All right, Tyler, you got anything else to take us home here?
Let me sweep through the games. Xavier Worthy, he had one single drive where he was targeted on all targets, caught all of them, and scored a touchdown. This is what he was in Texas. He is a good player. They had a different plan for him. People got to remember, they signed Hollywood Brown. They had Rashee Rice. They thought Kelsey would be something. They had a different plan for him because Andy Reid takes rookies on a slow path. He doesn't like to push them in, but he was needed right away. He's learning on the job, which I think is good for the future. So for me, Worthy, and even Mahomes has come out and said, hey, I've missed Worthy on throws. I have misled him. I have overthrown him. And
something you never hear Aaron Rodgers say.
Yeah, and I mean, Pat Mahomes saying he's overthrowing people, and it's because this speed is different. You can't like you can sit here and say, hey, it's easy to just throw it deep. No,
It's been a few years since he's had Tyreek, so
yeah, the speed is very different. You watch it on the field, it's super different. I like how they're using him just not down the field. They're using him short. They're using him on crossers. And they had him in a Rasheed Rice role for that drive. And that's how he scored the touchdown. Like it was like a screen and he took it. For me, I like Xavier Worthy as a buy. People are down on him. They're like, oh, what a waste. I think the future is bright for him. And going back to that, I think Mahomes, as much as we're poo-pooing on him, we got to remember this guy is one of the best quarterbacks we've ever seen. He's 29. So if you can get any bit of a dip on Mahomes, I think I would do it.
Yeah. Yeah, I can see that. I mean, at this point, he might lead the league in interceptions, which is very un-Mahomesian.
Did Brady have any seasons like that midway through his career where it's like, oh God, is he falling apart?
He had some seasons like that where he was like, oh, he's not the same, and then he turned it around. So it could be very much that for Patrick Mahomes, is that it's just kind of a blip on the radar and just things aren't, working the way that they want them to. I could see that. I also see like if they get Rasheed Rice back next year, they have Worthy. They maybe invest, maybe Hollywood Brown comes back there. I think he's set up for success. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
So I think it could be an anomaly where he's just a middling QB2 is really where he is this year. And people forget that this is an elite talent, like you said.
I have to be honest. I think they need Kelsey out of there. I think he's just slowing the offense down.
Noah Gray looks great.
Noah Gray looks good. They've got Wiley on IR right now, and he's supposed to be the next one up. No, this team plays better when Kelsey is not on the field as much. Noah Gray caught 2 touchdowns last week, and like you said, looks better.
Kelsey, I think slow.
He looks slow. He doesn't look as interested as he used to be. He's definitely got other things. Shocked. Yeah, he looks.
You get $100 million podcast deal, and you're dating the most famous woman in the world. Like,
yeah, I think honestly,
you've won 3 Super Bowls and 2 in a row. Like, okay,
if he does win this year, I think he's done. I think he's
done too. Yeah,
but if they lose, I could see him calling it too. It's just, there's something about this year to me in his reactions and how he just has more fun on his podcast than he does playing.
He doesn't seem fired up.
Yeah.
Like he seems like the flame is like it's not burning as bright for him.
Because he's got other things. And that's okay. Like it's okay to be like, hey, I'm going to be 35 as a tight end. He has multiple records. Like he's
got the Kansas City Chiefs touchdown record now. Like,
yeah, just call it, man.
Sell off Kelsey while you can.
And I think when that happens, Mahomes will stop expecting old Kelsey, because I think that's where Mahomes gets into trouble, and he'll need more from other players, and he'll expect more from other players. So he'll throw it more to them instead of being like, oh, I'm out of the pocket and I need to throw to Kelsey. Where is he? And I think those will become the Worthy, the Rasheed Rice.
Once your safety blanket has some holes in it, it's time to throw it away.
Exactly.
There's my analogy of the day.
That was a good one.
Take that nugget of wisdom. Feel free to use it free of charge.
I'll give some quick hitters. Herbert, I think, should be a top 5 dynasty quarterback because
that first half he was cooking.
He's healthy. That's all I'm going to say. Like he's 100%.
He's over the foot thing. Oh yeah.
Yeah. He had the foot last year. He had the ribs or shoulder. Like,
oh yeah, when he got blasted. Yeah, he was all banged up last year.
And my hopes is that's what Trevor Lawrence will go through, because Trevor Lawrence has been through so many injuries. He's got the non-throwing shoulder. I get it's non-throwing. He's going to play through it when he's got nothing to play for. And that's what Herbert does. These guys are just tough. They don't care. They want to play ball. And I think this is the year that you should go out and get Trevor Lawrence. It feels right. I get if they go Belichick, it's going to suck, but Belichick he's a good head coach. He's like a Dan Campbell-esque. Like he's a good head coach, but if they can get the right OC in there, that's what we're going to look at. That's what we need to look at. And hopefully it's not McDaniels, who I don't think it will be, because we've all seen how bad he is. But
he needs to just go away. Yeah.
Yeah. But I believe Trevor Lawrence will be something. So I think before the coach is even hired, you should go out and trade for him, because if they do get Ben Johnson, you're not getting him. And I do think there's a couple other coaches that if they land in Jacksonville, you won't be able to obtain Trevor Lawrence because the hype will be too real.
Yeah.
Let me see here. We went through the Rams. The Browns are poo-poo. Judy had a great game, but you get one.
Elijah Moore did too. He's trending up.
Elijah Moore is trending up. The Saints. I hate the Saints so much. I don't even want to talk
Taysom
about
Hill, baby.
There's nothing worse than me hating the Saints so much, and then Taysom Hill is my least liked player on the least liked team. Like it's like a double whammy, and then he goes
scores
off
45 points.
So Richardson is back at quarterback. He looked good. His completion, and I think the benching.
He looked reinvigorated.
And honestly, I think the benching was all about the tapping out.
Without fail, we always have some sort of technical difficulty. Tyler's gone. We're talking Anthony Richardson. I don't know if he's going to come back or not. Not Anthony Richardson, but Tyler. Yes, I think it was about the tapping out as well. But he looked good this week. So we'll see what happens. I'll give Tyler 15 more seconds, and I will jumble on. I'm not going to read about a Kringle. If you know what a Kringle is, or don't know what it is, look it up. I was reading out of a catalog last night with the very specific specifications and descriptions of Kringles that was making me laugh. So shout out to Kringles. It looks like Tyler will not be back. So I will wrap it up for us this week. Week 12. We got a few more weeks before the playoffs. I wish you all the best of luck, happiness, healthiness, getting ready for Thanksgiving, which is all about friends, family, and football, as we all know. So, in fantasy, 4 Fs, which is about what my high school grades look like. So, congrats on that. That is going to wrap us up this week on the Dynasty Happy Hour podcast. Again, go on iTunes, leave us a review and a rating would be very, very helpful. Until next time, we will see you around. I'm Doug. He was Tyler. I don't know where he went. He's lost in Minnesota somewhere. He's not feeling Minnesota. Shout out to you movie fans out there. We'll see you next week on the Dynasty Happy Hour.